Welcome back to Bluebird Studios. I'm your host, Alex. Allow yourself to drift off into a deep, restful sleep, feeling completely at peace and completely relaxed. This is the tale of the Mongol warrior Genghis Khan. Chapter 1: Birth of a Warrior. Temujin was born around 1162 in the rugged landscapes of the Central Asian steppes, a region home to various nomadic tribes. His birth took place during a period of considerable instability and conflict among the Mongol tribes. The Mongol steppes, the birthplace of Temujin, were characterized by a nomadic lifestyle, where tribes often engaged in conflicts over resources, territory, and influence. This environment fostered a culture of resilience and warfare, which would influence Temujin's future endeavors. Temujin's father, Yesugei, was the chief of the Borjigin clan, a relatively minor tribe among the many Mongol clans. Yesugei's marriage to Hoilun, a woman from the Ongirat tribe, established a union that was both politically and strategically significant, though it also placed Temujin in a complex web of tribal politics. Temujin's birth was considered auspicious by some accounts, with legends suggesting that he was born clutching a blood clot in his hand, a sign of future greatness. However, this promising start was soon overshadowed by significant challenges. When Temujin was around 9 years old, Yesugei arranged for him to be betrothed to Berte, a girl from the Kongarad tribe. This betrothal was a crucial alliance for the Borjigin clan, aimed at strengthening ties between influential families. It was common in Mongol society for marriages to be used as political tools to forge alliances and secure peace between tribes. The trajectory of Temujin's early life took a dramatic turn in 1177 when his father Yesugei was poisoned by the Tatars, a rival tribe. Yesugei's death was not merely a personal tragedy for Temujin, but also a significant political upheaval. As a chieftain, Yesugei had maintained a fragile balance of power among the Mongol tribes, and his death threw the Borjigin clan into a period of chaos and instability. Following Yesugei's death, Temujin was brought back to the Mongolian steppes to be with his family, who were abandoned by their allies. This betrayal marked the beginning of a harsh period of survival for Temujin's family. The once noble family fell from a position of power to one of destitution, forced to live in dire conditions as they were isolated from the tribal networks that had once supported them. This period of adversity was crucial in shaping Temujin's character. The harsh realities of his family's fall from grace exposed him to the brutal dynamics of Mongol tribal politics. It was during these years that Temujin learned about betrayal, survival, and the importance of strategic alliances, lessons that would later define his approach to leadership and conquest. Around the age of 10, Temujin was captured by the Taichi-ud, a rival Mongol tribe, and was held as a prisoner for a short time before he escaped during a feast. Temujin's captivity was not just a personal trial, but also a formative experience that taught him the harsh realities of Mongol life. The experience of being a prisoner, working as a servant, and enduring humiliation provided Temujin with insights into the vulnerabilities of his own position and the complexities of tribal politics. His eventual escape from captivity was a turning point, demonstrating his resilience, strategic thinking, and determination. This experience was pivotal in developing the skills necessary for his future conquests. Chapter 2: The Path to Power. As Temujin got older, he knew he wanted to be the leader of the Borjigin clan. However, it wasn't a clear-cut path for him, as his older half-brother Bedir was vying for the same position. Bedir's antagonism towards Temujin stemmed from traditional Mongol customs and the rivalry inherent in the competition for leadership within the family. Bedir's hostility was evident from an early age. As Temujin grew older, he began to challenge Bedir's authority, which led to escalating tensions. The rivalry between them was not just a family dispute, but also a reflection of the broader power struggles within Mongol society. The most significant confrontation between Temujin and Bader occurred when Temujin, in a bid to assert his dominance and secure his position, killed Bader. This dramatic act was not merely a personal conflict, but a strategic move that allowed Temujin to eliminate a potential rival and strengthen his claim to leadership. The killing of Bader marked a crucial step in Temujin's path to power, demonstrating his willingness to make difficult decisions to achieve his goals. In the aftermath of Bader's death, Temujin began to build a base of support among the Mongol tribes. Recognizing the importance of alliances, Temujin sought to consolidate his power through strategic partnerships. One of Temujin's first strategic moves was the effort to reunite with his betrothed wife, Berta, whom he had been betrothed to as a child. In 1178, after enduring many hardships, Temujin successfully retrieved Berta from the Khidans, who had kidnapped her. This act of bravery and commitment helped solidify his reputation as a leader. Temujin's relationship with Berta was also crucial in building alliances with the Kongerad tribe, her own people, which provided him with a vital support base. Temujin's ability to form and maintain alliances was a critical aspect of his leadership strategy. He understood that to unite the Mongol tribes and challenge external enemies, he needed to build a coalition of supporters. His early experiences, including the betrayal of his family and the conflict with Bader, taught him the importance of loyalty, trust, and strategic negotiation. In 1186, Temujin's growing influence was recognized when he was elected Khan of the Mongols at the Kurultai, a tribal council meeting. This election was a pivotal moment, as it was the first time a leader from the Borjigin clan was chosen to lead all Mongol tribes. However, Temujin's election was not simply a result of his charisma, but also the product of carefully crafted alliances. He allied with several influential tribes, including the Ongirat, the Uruud, and the Jinong, to consolidate his power. Temujin's approach to alliances was pragmatic. He established a personal relationship with many of the tribal leaders and demonstrated his commitment to their welfare. This approach earned him the loyalty of key allies and positioned him as a unifying force among the Mongol tribes. Chapter 3: The Conquest of Rivals. With a solid base of support, Temujin began his campaign to consolidate his power by attacking rival tribes. His first major military confrontation was against the Taichiud, a tribe that had previously captured him during his youth. In 1187, Temujin led a successful campaign against the Taichiud, defeating them in battle. This victory was not just a personal revenge, but also a strategic move to eliminate a significant rival and solidify his control over the Mongol steppe. The defeat of the Taichiud was followed by a series of successful military campaigns against other rival tribes. In 1189, Temujin turned his attention to the Tatar tribe. The Tatar tribe had been responsible for the murder of Temujin's father, and this campaign was as much about personal vengeance as it was about political strategy. Temujin's forces defeated the Tatars, and he captured their leader, which was a significant victory that demonstrated his growing military prowess. Temujin's strategic acumen was also evident in his dealings with external powers. In the early 1190s, Temujin formed an alliance with the Jin dynasty, a powerful Chinese empire. This alliance was instrumental in strengthening Temujin's position among the Mongol tribes. In 1195, Temujin and the Jin dynasty collaborated to defeat the Naiman tribe, another of Temujin's rivals. The defeat of the Naiman was a significant step in Temujin's campaign to unite the Mongol tribes under his leadership. The cooperation with the Jin dynasty not only helped to eliminate a rival, but also laid the groundwork for future diplomatic relations. One of Temujin's most notable early victories was the Battle of Dalan Baljut in 1196. This battle was a decisive confrontation between Temujin and the coalition of Mongol tribes, led by the former Khan of the Mongols, Wang Khan. Temujin's forces achieved a decisive victory in this battle, which was a critical step in his quest for dominance. The victory at Dalan Baljut was significant for several reasons. It demonstrated Temujin's military prowess and his ability to command a large, effective fighting force. It also marked the beginning of the consolidation of power under Temujin's leadership. Following this victory, Temujin began to establish more formalized structures of governance and legal codes, which would later become the foundation of the Mongol Empire. The culmination of Temujin's efforts to unite the Mongol tribes came in 1206, with the Kurultai held at the Onon River. This historic assembly marked the formal recognition of Temujin as Genghis Khan, the supreme leader of the Mongol people. At the Kurultai, the Mongol tribes pledged their allegiance to Temujin, and he was granted the title of Genghis Khan, which means universal ruler. The establishment of the title of Genghis Khan was a monumental achievement for Temujin. It signified the unification of the Mongol tribes under a single leader and laid the foundation for the Mongol Empire. The Kurultai also marked the beginning of a new era in Mongol history, as Genghis Khan began to plan the expansion of the empire beyond the Mongol steppe. Chapter 4: Military Innovations and Organizational Reforms. Genghis Khan's rise to power was not only the result of military conquests, but also due to his innovative military strategies and organizational reforms. The Mongol leader reorganized the Mongol military into a highly disciplined and efficient force. He introduced a decimal system, dividing his army into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. This system allowed for more effective command and control and facilitated coordinated large-scale operations. Genghis Khan emphasized the importance of mobility in warfare. The Mongol army was known for its speed and flexibility, which allowed it to conduct rapid and unexpected attacks on enemies. He employed psychological tactics to instill fear and uncertainty among his enemies. He often used deception, such as feigned retreats, to lure enemies into traps. Genghis Khan promoted individuals based on merit rather than noble birth. This policy ensured that the most capable individuals were given positions of power and responsibility, which contributed to the effectiveness of the Mongol administration and military. One of Genghis Khan's most significant contributions to military strategy was the reorganization of the Mongol military into a highly efficient and disciplined force. Before Genghis Khan, Mongol tribes operated as loosely connected groups, often engaging in sporadic and disorganized conflicts. Genghis Khan transformed this structure into a sophisticated military organization. Genghis Khan implemented a decimal military system that structured the army into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. This system allowed for clear lines of command and facilitated both large-scale operations and smaller tactical maneuvers. Each unit had specific roles and responsibilities, and this organization ensured that orders could be communicated effectively and that troops could be mobilized quickly. For instance, a squad of 10 soldiers, Arban, was the basic fighting unit, while a company of 100, Zun, a battalion of 1,000, Mingyan, and a division of 10,000, Tumen, formed the core of the Mongol army. He established a meritocratic system where promotions were based on ability rather than noble birth. This policy ensured that the most capable individuals rose to positions of power, which enhanced the effectiveness of the Mongol military. For example, Jebei and Kublai Khan were promoted based on their demonstrated skills and loyalty rather than their lineage. Genghis Khan also incorporated captured soldiers into his army. He offered prisoners the opportunity to join the Mongol forces, which allowed him to expand his military ranks and utilize the skills of defeated enemies. This approach not only increased the size of the Mongol army, but also fostered a sense of unity and purpose among the troops. Genghis Khan's military genius was evident in his innovative battlefield tactics and maneuvers. He employed several key strategies that enabled him to outmaneuver and defeat larger and better equipped enemy forces. One of Genghis Khan's most famous tactics was the feigned retreat. This maneuver involved pretending to withdraw from battle to lure the enemy into a vulnerable position. Once the enemy was committed to the chase, the Mongol forces would suddenly regroup and launch a counterattack. This tactic was famously used in the Battle of Kalka River in 1223, where the Mongols used a feigned retreat to defeat a combined Russian and Polish army. An emphasis on speed and mobility was a defining feature of his military strategy. The Mongol army utilized fast-moving cavalry to conduct surprise attacks on enemy camps and fortifications. The Mongol horsemen were skilled in rapid movements and could cover large distances quickly, allowing them to strike unexpectedly and then retreat before the enemy could respond. Employing encirclement tactics to overwhelm his enemies. By surrounding the enemy from multiple sides, he was able to cut off their escape routes and force them into a position where they could be defeated. For instance, in the Battle of the Badger Mouth, the Mongols used encirclement to trap and defeat the rival Taichiud tribe. Genghis Khan was adept at using the terrain to his advantage. He employed a range of geographical features, such as rivers, mountains, and open plains, to shape the battlefield. By positioning his forces in advantageous locations, he could exploit the weaknesses of his enemies. For example, during the conquest of Khwarezm, Genghis Khan used the deserts and steppes to maneuver around enemy defenses and launch effective attacks. Genghis Khan's approach to warfare also included sophisticated psychological tactics and intelligence operations that played a crucial role in his military successes. He used psychological tactics to instill fear and uncertainty among his enemies. He spread rumors of his brutal methods and the destruction of entire cities to deter potential adversaries. The Mongols would also use terror as a weapon, such as in the siege of Zhongdu, where they destroyed the city to demonstrate their power and deter other cities from resisting. The Mongols valued intelligence and espionage highly. He employed a network of spies and scouts to gather information about enemy movements, strengths, and weaknesses. This intelligence was crucial for planning attacks and avoiding ambushes. Genghis Khan also utilized false information to mislead his enemies and create opportunities for surprise attacks. In addition to military tactics, Genghis Khan engaged in diplomatic strategies to isolate his enemies. He formed alliances with neighboring states and tribes to create a favorable environment for his military campaigns. For instance, he formed an alliance with the Jin dynasty against the Western Xia Empire, which allowed him to focus on defeating the latter before turning his attention to the Jin. Genghis Khan's success was also due to his willingness to adopt new technologies and techniques from the cultures he encountered. He was not averse to integrating effective innovations into his military operations. The Mongols were initially known for their cavalry tactics, but evolved to master siege warfare techniques. They adopted techniques such as the use of siege engines, including catapults and trebuchets, which they learned from the Chinese. The Mongols also developed sophisticated siege tactics, such as the construction of siege towers and the use of psychological tactics to break the will of defenders. He integrated various specialists into his army, including engineers, craftsmen, and soldiers from conquered peoples. This approach allowed the Mongol military to benefit from a diverse range of skills and knowledge. For example, after conquering the Khwarezmian Empire, the Mongols incorporated the expertise of Khwarezmian engineers and craftsmen into their own military operations. Genghis Khan was quick to adapt successful techniques from his enemies. He learned from the military practices of the Jin dynasty, the Khwarezmian Empire, and other adversaries to improve his own forces. This adaptability was a key factor in his ability to overcome diverse and formidable opponents. Chapter 5: The Conquest of the Western Xia Dynasty. Before Genghis Khan's rise, the Western Xia Dynasty, founded by the Tangut people, was a formidable state located in northwestern China. The Western Xia Dynasty ruled over a substantial territory, including parts of present-day Shanxi, Gansu, and Ningxia provinces. Under Emperor Shizong, the Western Xia was a major regional power strategically positioned between the Jin dynasty to the east and the Liao dynasty to the north. The Western Xia dynasty had engaged in both diplomatic and military interactions with neighboring states, maintaining a balance of power in the region. For Genghis Khan, the Western Xia represented both a strategic opportunity and a potential threat. The Mongols sought to secure their western borders and acquire the wealth and resources of the Tangut Empire. The campaign against Western Xia was not just about expansion, but also about establishing the Mongol Empire's dominance in the region. Genghis Khan's conquest of Western Xia was characterized by a series of well-planned military campaigns, showcasing his strategic brilliance and innovative tactics. The campaign can be divided into three main phases: the initial invasion, the siege of Zhongxing, and the aftermath of the conquest. In 1205, Genghis Khan launched the first major military campaign against the Western Xia dynasty. This initial invasion was driven by a combination of strategic interests and retribution. Genghis Khan aimed to secure the western borders of the Mongol Empire and punish the Western Xia for their past incursions into Mongol territory. Genghis Khan meticulously planned the invasion, focusing on both military and diplomatic strategies. He assembled a large and well-organized army, utilizing the Mongol military's superior mobility and speed. The Mongol forces used their traditional cavalry tactics to conduct a series of raids and skirmishes along the western borders of the Western Xia. The Mongols employed their trademark tactics of speed and surprise. The Mongol cavalry conducted rapid raids, targeting key outposts and supply lines. This approach created chaos and disrupted Western Xia's defensive preparations. The Mongol forces also used feigned retreats to lure the Western Xia troops into traps, exploiting their vulnerabilities. The siege of Zhongxing, the capital city of Western Xia, was a crucial phase in the Mongol campaign. After initial successes, Genghis Khan sought to capture the city to force the Western Xia rulers into submission. The Mongols employed a variety of siege techniques to breach the defenses of Zhongxing. Genghis Khan's forces used siege engines, including battering rams and catapults, to attack the city walls. They also conducted psychological warfare to undermine the defenders' morale, spreading rumors of Mongol brutality and threatening the complete destruction of the city. During the siege, Genghis Khan also employed diplomatic tactics. He offered terms of surrender to the Western Xia rulers, promising them mercy in exchange for tribute. This approach was designed to create divisions within the Western Xia leadership and weaken their resolve to resist. The siege ultimately led to a treaty in 1207, in which the Western Xia agreed to pay tribute to the Mongol Empire. The treaty marked the beginning of Mongol influence over the Western Xia dynasty and demonstrated Genghis Khan's ability to achieve his objectives through both military and diplomatic means. Following the treaty, Genghis Khan's campaign against Western Xia continued as he sought to consolidate Mongol control and prepare for future conflicts. Although the treaty established a tribute relationship, the Mongols continued to conduct military operations against the Western Xia. Genghis Khan sought to assert Mongol dominance and secure additional resources from the Tangut Empire. Genghis Khan used the period after the conquest to consolidate Mongol control over the region. He established garrisons and administrative structures to oversee the collection of tribute and ensure the loyalty of the Western Xia rulers. This consolidation was essential for the stability of Mongol rule in the newly acquired territories. The conquest of Western Xia also set the stage for Genghis Khan's future military campaigns. The success of the Western Xia campaign demonstrated the effectiveness of Mongol military strategies and prepared the Mongol forces for more ambitious campaigns, including the eventual invasion of the Jin dynasty and the southern Song dynasty. The conquest of Western Xia had significant implications for Genghis Khan's empire and for the region's broader geopolitical landscape. The successful campaign against Western Xia established Mongol dominance in northwestern China. The Mongol Empire's control over Western Xia extended its influence and secured its western borders. This dominance provided a strategic base for future expansions into other Chinese territories and beyond. The conquest of Western Xia brought valuable resources to the Mongol Empire. The Tungut Empire was rich in agricultural lands and trade routes, which the Mongols exploited to strengthen their economic position. The tribute payments from Western Xia also contributed to the Mongol Empire's wealth and stability. The conquest of Western Xia served as a stepping stone for Genghis Khan's subsequent military campaigns. The Mongol Empire used the newly acquired territories as a base for launching further invasions, including the campaigns against the Jin dynasty. The success in Western Xia demonstrated Genghis Khan's ability to conduct complex military operations and plan for long-term objectives. The Mongol conquest of Western Xia facilitated cultural and diplomatic exchanges between the Mongols and the Tangut people. The integration of Tangut knowledge and expertise into the Mongol administration enriched the Mongol Empire's cultural and intellectual life. Additionally, the conquest established diplomatic relations with other Chinese states and set the stage for the eventual unification of China under Mongol rule. Chapter 6: The Conquest of the Jin Dynasty. Following his conquest of Western Xia, Genghis Khan turned his focus to the Jin dynasty. The Jin dynasty, founded by the Jurchen people in 1115, controlled northern China and was a formidable regional power. By the early 13th century, the Jin dynasty had extended its influence southward, establishing itself as a dominant force in the northern part of China. The Jin dynasty had previously been in conflict with the Song dynasty to the south and had engaged in diplomatic and military interactions with the Mongol tribes in the north. The Jin dynasty's administration was highly organized, with a complex bureaucracy and a strong military. Emperor Xuanzong of Jin was the ruler during the initial phase of Genghis Khan's campaign. The Jin military was well equipped and had experience in dealing with both internal strife and external threats. By the early 13th century, the Jin dynasty was dealing with multiple threats. To the north, the Jin faced the Mongol tribes, who were increasingly unified under Genghis Khan. To the south, the Song dynasty was a persistent rival. The Jin dynasty's ability to manage these threats was waning, providing an opportunity for Genghis Khan's ambitions. Genghis Khan's campaign against the Jin dynasty was a complex and multifaceted military endeavor. It involved several key phases, each characterized by different strategies and tactics. In 1211, Genghis Khan launched the first of a series of raids into Jin territory. The Mongol forces, led by Genghis Khan, began by targeting outlying regions and smaller cities to weaken the Jin dynasty's defenses. The Mongol army utilized its superior mobility and speed, conducting hit-and-run attacks that disoriented and demoralized Jin forces. One of the first major battles of the campaign was the Battle of the River Luo. The Mongols defeated the Jin army, which was a significant victory for Genghis Khan. The success at the Battle of the River Luo allowed the Mongols to advance further into Jin territory and set the stage for more extensive operations. The siege of Zhongdu, the Jin capital, was a pivotal moment in the Mongol campaign. In 1214, Genghis Khan began the siege of the city, which was a major strategic objective. Zhongdu was heavily fortified, and the siege required careful planning and resource management. During the siege, Genghis Khan also engaged in diplomatic efforts. He offered terms of surrender to the Jin dynasty, promising leniency in exchange for tribute and a cessation of hostilities. This approach was intended to pressure the Jin rulers into negotiating terms, while continuing the siege to apply further pressure. In 1215, after a protracted siege, the Jin dynasty surrendered Zhongdu to the Mongols. The Mongols captured the city and inflicted significant damage. The capture of Zhongdu was a significant victory for Genghis Khan, demonstrating his ability to achieve strategic objectives through a combination of military and diplomatic efforts. Following the capture of Zhongdu, Genghis Khan's forces continued their campaigns against the Jin dynasty. The Mongols sought to consolidate their control over northern China and prepare for future operations. They conducted raids and battles to secure key territories and weaken the Jin dynasty further. The Battle of the Yangtze River was a significant engagement during this period. The Mongol forces defeated the Jin army, securing control over the region south of the Yangtze River. This victory further solidified Mongol dominance in northern China and paved the way for future expansions. The continued Mongol campaigns contributed to the decline of the Jin dynasty. Internal strife, combined with the pressure from Mongol military operations, weakened the Jin dynasty's ability to maintain control over its territory. By 1234, the Jin dynasty was finally overthrown by the Mongols and their allies, and Genghis Khan's conquest of the Jin dynasty was marked by several key strategic innovations and military tactics that were instrumental in his success. The Mongol army's mobility was a key factor in the conquest of the Jin dynasty. Genghis Khan's forces used fast-moving cavalry units to conduct rapid raids and surprise attacks. This mobility allowed the Mongols to strike quickly and retreat before the Jin forces could mount a counterattack. Genghis Khan was known for his ability to learn from his enemies. During the campaign against the Jin dynasty, he adopted Chinese siege warfare techniques and incorporated Chinese engineers and craftsmen into his army. This adaptability allowed the Mongols to effectively breach fortified cities and overcome defensive obstacles. Genghis Khan used psychological warfare to undermine the morale of the Jin defenders. He spread fear through rumors of Mongol brutality and employed deceptive tactics, such as feigned retreats, to lure enemy forces into traps. These tactics were designed to weaken the resolve of the Jin military and create opportunities for Mongol victories. The Mongol campaign against the Jin dynasty was supported by an extensive network of spies and scouts. Genghis Khan placed great importance on gathering intelligence about enemy movements and fortifications. This information was used to plan attacks, avoid ambushes, and exploit enemy weaknesses. The conquest of the Jin dynasty had profound implications for Genghis Khan's empire and for the history of China. The successful campaign against the Jin dynasty established Mongol dominance in northern China. The capture of Zhongdu and subsequent victories allowed the Mongols to extend their influence over the region and set the stage for the eventual unification of China under Mongol rule. The conquest of the Jin dynasty brought significant economic benefits to the Mongol Empire. The Mongols gained control of valuable trade routes, resources, and tribute payments from the conquered territories. This economic advantage helped to strengthen the Mongol Empire and support further military campaigns. The conquest of the Jin dynasty provided a strategic base for Genghis Khan's future military operations. The success in northern China allowed the Mongol Empire to prepare for the conquest of the southern Song dynasty and other territories. The consolidation of control over northern China was a key step in Genghis Khan's broader vision of empire building. The conquest of the Jin dynasty facilitated cultural and diplomatic exchanges between the Mongols and the Chinese states. The integration of Chinese knowledge and expertise into the Mongol administration enriched the Mongol Empire's cultural and intellectual life. Additionally, the conquest established diplomatic relations with other Chinese states and set the stage for the eventual unification of China under Mongol rule. Chapter 7: Conquest of the Middle East. The Khwarezmian Empire, established by the Anushtigan dynasty in the early 11th century, was a significant power in Central Asia and the Middle East. At its height, it controlled a vast territory that included parts of present-day Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Afghanistan. Shah Ala ad-Din Muhammad Tita ruled the empire during Genghis Khan's invasion. The Khwarezmian Empire was a centralized state with a strong administrative system and a well-organized military. The Shah's court was located in Samarkand, a city known for its cultural and economic significance. The Khwarezmian military was a formidable force, featuring both cavalry and infantry units and fortified cities. By the early 13th century, the Khwarezmian Empire had emerged as a major power in the region. It controlled key trade routes and engaged in regional diplomacy and warfare. This made it a significant adversary for Genghis Khan, who sought to expand his empire westward. The conflict between Genghis Khan and Shah Muhammad that began due to a diplomatic incident that escalated into open warfare. In 1218, Genghis Khan sent a caravan of 500 men to Khwarezm to establish trade relations. Shah Muhammad II initially appeared receptive but grew suspicious of the Mongols' intentions. He accused the Mongol traders of being spies and had them executed, a grave breach of diplomatic protocol that incited Genghis Khan's wrath. The execution of the envoys served as a casus belli for Genghis Khan. In response, he mobilized a large army to avenge the insult and punish the Khwarezmians for their aggression. Genghis Khan declared a full-scale invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire, marking the beginning of a devastating campaign. The Mongol invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire was characterized by a series of strategic military campaigns, each marked by distinct tactics and objectives. The first major battle of the campaign was the siege of Otrar, a key fortress city. The Mongols surrounded the city and employed advanced siege techniques, including the use of siege engines and the construction of siege works. The city fell after a prolonged siege, setting the tone for the subsequent military operations. Following the fall of Otrar, Genghis Khan's forces moved on to Bukhara and Samarkand, two major Khwarezmian cities. The Mongols employed a combination of psychological warfare and military tactics. At Bukhara, Genghis Khan reportedly declared himself the flail of God, signaling his intent to punish the city's inhabitants. The cities fell after intense battles and sieges, demonstrating the Mongol army's effectiveness and resolve. The Mongol campaign continued with the siege of Urgench, one of the most fortified cities in the Khwarezmian Empire. The Mongols faced fierce resistance, but ultimately succeeded through a combination of siege warfare and strategic assaults. The capture of Urgench marked a significant victory and further weakened the Khwarezmian defenses. After the fall of Urgench, Shah Muhammad fled westward across the Caspian Sea in a desperate attempt to escape the Mongol onslaught. Genghis Khan pursued him relentlessly, demonstrating his commitment to completely dismantling the Khwarezmian Empire. Genghis Khan's forces followed Shah Muhammad's trail, moving through harsh terrains and overcoming significant obstacles. The Shah eventually died in the region of the Caspian Sea, possibly from exposure or illness. With his death, organized Khwarezmian resistance effectively ended. After the Shah's death, the Mongols conducted mopping-up operations to eliminate remaining Khwarezmian forces and secure the region. This phase involved consolidating Mongol control and preparing the territory for integration into the expanding Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan's campaign against the Khwarezmian Empire was marked by several key strategic innovations and military tactics. This included psychological warfare. The Mongols were known for their brutal retribution against cities that resisted. The fall of Otrar, Bukhara, and Samarkand was accompanied by severe punitive measures intended to serve as a warning to other potential adversaries. They also used advanced siege warfare techniques, including the construction of siege engines like trebuchets and the use of psychological tactics, such as feigned retreats, to draw out defenders. Their ability to lay successful sieges was a testament to their military ingenuity. The Mongol army's superior mobility was a key factor in its success. It used fast-moving cavalry units to conduct rapid raids and surprise attacks, which allowed it to outmaneuver the Khwarezmian forces and capture key cities. Genghis Khan's campaign of the Khwarezmian was supported by a network of spies and scouts. This intelligence gathering allowed the Mongols to plan their strategies, anticipate enemy movements, and exploit weaknesses in the Khwarezmian defenses. The conquest of the Khwarezmian Empire had significant and far-reaching consequences for the Mongol Empire and the Middle East. The successful campaign extended Mongol control into the Middle East, demonstrating the Mongols' ability to project power beyond their traditional territories. This expansion laid the groundwork for future Mongol campaigns in the region. The conquest provided the Mongols with access to valuable trade routes and resources. The wealth acquired from the Khwarezmian Empire supported the Mongol military and facilitated further expansion. The campaign against Khwarezm served as a prelude to future Mongol invasions of the Middle East. The successful incorporation of Khwarezmian territories into the Mongol Empire set the stage for the subsequent rise of the Ilkhanate, a Mongol state in Persia and the surrounding regions. The fall of the Khwarezmian Empire was a major event in Middle Eastern history. It marked the beginning of a period of Mongol influence in the region and had lasting effects on the political and economic landscape of the Middle East. Chapter 8: Genghis Khan's Final Campaign and Death. In the final years of his life, Genghis Khan was engaged in a campaign against the Western Xia dynasty, a state in northwestern China. This campaign, launched in 1226, was part of Genghis Khan's broader strategy to consolidate and expand Mongol power. The Western Xia dynasty, also known as the Tangut Empire, had been a significant adversary of the Mongols. Although it had been subdued earlier, the Western Xia rulers had begun to resist Mongol authority, which led Genghis Khan to initiate a new campaign to reassert Mongol dominance. Genghis Khan's campaign against the Western Xia was marked by a series of brutal sieges and battles. The Mongol forces employed their characteristic military strategies, including psychological warfare, advanced siege techniques, and relentless assaults on fortified cities. The campaign was devastating for the Western Xia, resulting in the near-total destruction of their cities and the eventual submission of the Western Xia ruler. During the latter stages of the campaign, Genghis Khan fell ill. The exact nature of his illness is not known, but it is believed that he suffered from a serious and possibly fatal condition. He died in August 1237, shortly after the completion of the Western Xia campaign. According to legend, his death was surrounded by secrecy, and his body was buried in an undisclosed location. Following Genghis Khan's death, his son Ojeda was chosen as the Great Khan of the Mongol Empire. Ojeda's ascension marked a transition of leadership that continued Genghis Khan's policies of expansion and consolidation. Under Ogadei, the Mongol Empire expanded further into Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Genghis Khan's burial was conducted with the utmost secrecy. The exact location of his tomb remains unknown to this day, a tradition that reflects the Mongol belief in maintaining the sanctity of the ruler's final resting place. Genghis Khan is remembered as one of history's greatest conquerors. His establishment of the Mongol Empire set the stage for one of the largest contiguous empires in history. The Mongol conquests had a lasting impact on the political and social structures of Eurasia, influencing the development of subsequent empires and states. Genghis Khan's legacy endures in modern times through various forms of cultural and historical remembrance. He is a national hero in Mongolia, where he is celebrated as a symbol of unity and strength. His life and achievements have been the subject of numerous historical studies, literary works, and cultural representations. Genghis Khan's successors continued his legacy of expansion. Under Ogadei Khan, the Mongol Empire expanded into Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Later, Mongol rulers, including Kublai Khan, established the Yuan dynasty in China, which had a lasting impact on Chinese history and culture. The administrative and military practices established by Genghis Khan influenced many subsequent empires and states. Later rulers adopted and adapted his methods of governance and military organization, contributing to the development of new political and military systems. The era of Mongol rule, often referred to as the Pax Mongolica, was characterized by relative peace and stability across Eurasia. This period of peace allowed for the flourishing of trade, travel, and cultural exchange. The safety provided by Mongol rule on the Silk Road enabled merchants and travelers to move freely across vast distances. The Pax Mongolica facilitated a significant cultural exchange between East and West. Ideas, technologies, and cultural practices were shared across the Mongol Empire's vast territories. This exchange had a lasting impact on the development of societies throughout Eurasia. Genghis Khan's death marked the end of an era of unprecedented conquest, but it also symbolized the continuation of his vision through his descendants. His final campaign against the Western Xia demonstrated his unyielding drive and commitment to the expansion of the Mongol Empire, even in his final days. His death was surrounded by secrecy and ritual, reflecting the Mongol belief in the sacredness of the ruler's role. The preservation of his burial site as a mystery ensured that his legacy would remain enigmatic and revered. Genghis Khan's death in 1227 was a significant moment in history, marking the end of a period of relentless expansion and warfare. However, his legacy extended far beyond his lifetime. Through his military innovations, administrative reforms, and promotion of trade and diplomacy, Genghis Khan laid the foundation for one of the largest empires in history and facilitated a period of cultural and economic prosperity. The impact of his rule can be seen in the subsequent expansion of the Mongol Empire under his successors, the cultural exchanges that occurred during the Pax Mongolica, and the enduring historical and cultural significance of his achievements. Genghis Khan remains a towering figure in history, celebrated as a conqueror, a statesman, and a unifier of diverse cultures. His legacy continues to resonate in modern times, reflecting both the achievements and complexities of his reign. Genghis Khan's life and accomplishments offer insights into the nature of power, leadership, and the far-reaching effects of historical events. Thanks for listening.